How's it going, everybody? We have a big day today. Ndzaba Mngomezulu. He's an artist and author of a new book, Draw Again, Dream Again: How to Reignite Your Artistic Passion and Keep the Fire Burning. This is a book about how to start drawing again after you have had a lapse. So, Ndzaba, you had like a 10-ish year lapse in art making and figured out how to draw again while maintaining a family and work. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to talking to you about it. And thank you for joining me.
No, it's my honor to be here, man. Excited.
Nzaba and I are going to draw some hands. We're going to draw these ones here first as a warm up, and then we're going to get into some of these great veiny sculptural hands here. So we're going to do that.
Oh yeah.
You guys can all draw along with me, with us as well. The references are in the Discord. And Nzaba, how about we start with you telling me a little bit about your lapse of 10 years, why you think it happened, and how you got back into it.
Oh, well, man, for a number of reasons, right? I I know that for myself, like many circumstances, especially like in school, it would seem as if, you know, art wasn't taken as seriously as like the other subjects, right?
Right.
So art wasn't then something that I took seriously in my own life. So then when it came to things like, choosing a career, I'll never forget going to a high school, and the year that I applied there was the year that they removed art from like an option as to something you want to further down the line. And not to mention like art was just one of those subjects where if you don't pass that well, it's okay, but you
Mhm.
gotta know math.
Right.
You gotta know English, right? You gotta know all these other things. And so then subconsciously, I just feel like I then never thought, it was something I could do anything serious with. And coming from where I come from, like in my home country, which is Eswatini or Swaziland,
Hmm.
um, it was definitely like the atmosphere. I don't want to say everybody was like this, but generally it was like, okay, you're either going to be a doctor or an architect, or you're going to, work in IT, etc., but not necessarily the artistic stuff, right? It didn't seem sustainable and isn't really, today. And so all these things I feel like just influenced me not to, you know, take it as seriously as I could. And so I ended up dabbling in it for a long time. And looking back now, I think because I never took time to learn the fundamentals as well,
Hmm.
that that kind of like discouraged me from continuing as well because certain things I still wasn't getting right when it was the three-quarter head or it was perspective, right? And I feel like these things were just like slowly nudging me away from drawing as passionately as I used to. Fast forward to, late um end of 2024, and I feel like a pulling from God to like come back to drawing, which was weird to me because I was like focusing on music, and that was also
Hmm.
something that I explored in my teenage years, like I would say seriously. But yeah, I just felt a conviction to come back to it, and when I did it with like a decision that this time I'm just gonna learn the basics, whatever it is I need, like start from scratch and assume I know nothing. And that was the best decision I made because it not only made drawing, more understandable, but it also made it easier and fun and then encouraged me to, take on bigger leaps. And I got more clarity on what I actually wanted to draw and things like that.
There is kind of like a cultural belittling of art, I feel. I guess that must be
Yeah.
universal. I don't know how many times people have said, like, with kind intention, oh, it's so nice that you get to do
Mm,
your hobby as a job. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't say that about most other things, right? It just doesn't seem
Yeah,
I don't know. Art feels like it's in a category like it's a fun thing you can do, but it's not very serious, and that's so untrue.
yeah, that's true. And it's so funny. I heard about this research that they had done. I don't remember when, and they had given like kids this NASA IQ test,
Hmm.
basically. And majority of them like had really high scores. And then they fast forwarded to the same kids years later as they got older, and few of them started to like score high, and then as they got older a lot fewer of them. And what it was revealing was just how like we have currently systems in the education space that seem to slowly push or take creativity out of us, or like
Hmm.
maybe make it dormant, rather. I think that's a better word.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good
make
way
it
of putting
dormant
it. Yeah.
when, yeah, when most of us are actually creative. Like, how many people do you know, for example, who they might say like, nah, I don't, I may not have talent to draw, but they're very artistically inclined. Like they have this taste, and they have like an artistic eye to do things and put things together, but they just feel like they can't do it themselves, you know?
It's funny because whenever people try to sort of talk about that, they say, "Oh, I can't even draw," and then they give you the most difficult thing to draw. Like they say, "I can't even draw a circle," or "I can't even draw a straight line." Like drawing a circle is a really hard thing to draw. It's always the example that comes up, and like I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Hardly anybody could draw a circle. Like,
right?
um,
No one can. Mhm.
so in chat,
Well, not no one can, but like, yeah, it's not easy.
it's tough. Yeah. Like that shouldn't be the benchmark, right? Like maybe you could draw a
Yeah,
squiggle and that should be a starting point.
yeah,
Um, somebody in chat, K says, adulting tends to get in the way of arting, and that's true. And
yeah,
I should also say your book, one thing I like about your book is that it has uh, a lot of references, like footnotes to scientific studies and stuff. So it's well researched and grounded
mm,
in sort of a scientific literature. But adulting getting in the way, I think, is a big one. And in your book, you talk about different strategies to like find the time when you have a full life.
yeah,
Because you've got two kids.
yeah.
Uh, I
Hmm.
I can't imagine. I have one, and it's pretty full on. Two kids,
Yeah.
and like work and all that. Like it's finding the time. How do you do that? How do you find the time to do your art?
Um, so it's a weird thing. I might be like in the minority when it comes to this. Like it feels as if the more responsibilities I have, um, the more time I realize I do have. Like when I wasn't married, or when I didn't have a child, like I had so much time to do so many things, that now that I do have these responsibilities, which I love, by the way, it's like I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There are 24 hours in a day. I can wake up early. So
Hmm.
I put on myself to just like, you know, just be real and say, okay, if you want to do this, like it's gonna have to come with a level of sacrifice. And the sacrifice sometimes isn't like waking up 2 hours earlier than usual, or maybe if you only have time at night, and I go through a lot more examples in my book. But like if you look honestly at your day, we have pockets of time that we could be drawing that we use to do other things, right? And maybe it's scrolling on our phone. I
Hmm.
don't even mean like important things. It's just things that we never take note to say, actually, instead of this, I could be doing drawing. And I can understand at times it feels like you feel like too tired to even think about that, right? Like you come from work, etc. But it's interesting that when you actually dedicate the time to drawing, and I'm sure you know this a lot, where you get into like this flow state,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of wake up and you feel revitalized. And they even scientific studies, as you were like basically hinting at in the book, that shows what it does for you mentally, that's beneficial for you, just drawing, and not drawing anything impressive, like just literally the act of drawing, that as you begin to do and incorporate into your life, you're not only, doing what you love, but like you're literally gaining you know benefits from it, from a health point of view, mentally
Mm-hmm.
especially, and stuff. So yeah, just to then go back to my answer, it's really just looking at the day and seeing what other opportunities do I have to draw, and what would I have to do to then make that happen? What could I live without, you know,
Right.
in order to do this? Because it's not everything that I was doing at that time in my life that I needed to do. I didn't need to be on YouTube or playing my video games for as long
Mm-hmm.
as I was. I could just decide, hey, let's pursue this thing, because it's so fulfilling, right? Like, I'm sure you
Absolutely.
can attest to this yourself.
Well, just going to the, like you said, the mental health thing. Like, I've been doing 1 hour in the evenings where I
Mm,
just draw, like after my kid goes to bed. And I have noticed, like, if I don't feel like doing it, I'm a little tired. After I'm done,
yeah.
always feel better. And it
Mhm.
just kind of, it turns the day around. If I'm having a bad day, it really fixes
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for me it's the it's the opposite in that, well, recently it's now during the day, but I had it to where the only opportunity I had was in the morning. So I'd wake up like an hour before all the girls are up. So I'm just like, I'm a girl dad
Hmm.
and a husband, so it's all girls in the house. An hour before they're all up, I spend about an hour or more drawing. And I feel so fulfilled, refreshed, awake, and ready for the day, that I'm able to give them all the attention that they need from me,
Hmm.
and
Well,
I think that's nice, because you get to spend some time doing what you like, but then it also stimulates you, it refreshes you, fulfills you to then do what you also get to do with like your loved ones and stuff in the rest of your day.
and right off the bat, you must feel accomplished, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sometimes like a little frustrated, like, the drawing didn't come out the way I liked,
Hmm.
but honestly, still just like, I'd rather have a not so good drawing day than to not have drawn that day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I should mention that you're joining us from Brazil, so it's quite late where you are. It's gonna be midnight pretty soon. So I appreciate you staying up. To,
No, man, I couldn't miss this moment. I'm really happy to be here with you, John, and also the audience, talking it up and drawing. It's really nice.
K Art says that you make hands look easy and they are not. Yeah, we. It's funny. I realized I suggested we draw hands today because we can't do figure drawing on Twitch, and I thought, oh, we'll just draw hands, and then I realized, oh yeah, hands is the hardest thing to draw, and we've got to have a conversation about this well drawn hands. So this is the high wire act. And
Yeah.
I should say again, those of you in chat, if you'd like to draw along, these references are in the Discord. And also, I'm interested in people's experiences in chat. If you guys have had a lapse, maybe share your experience, why you think you had it. I also want to know why you guys love drawing. For those of you who do, and Zaba, why do you love drawing? Let's get positive. I think that keeping in your book, you say keeping that in mind, like the reason you
Yeah.
draw, why you love drawing is a really good way to, when you don't feel like getting up an hour early, remembering that
Yeah.
and doing it.
Yeah. 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 Well, yeah, so, one of the reasons I love to draw is that it feels very purposeful. I see it as a way to tell stories and express myself in such a unique and cool way. I do
Hmm.
believe it's a gift, and that, it's part of my purpose for being, if I can say so, like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fulfilling. And I just, in that way, I'm basically serving God, which for me is like number one. And so that then makes it all more meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I know isn't the reason for everyone else, which is fine. But like for me, those are things that definitely push me to feel like, I do have a purpose and I do have a reason for doing this. And I'm glad that I just have the inclination to do it anyways, and so on those days,
Mm-hmm.
those mornings, after a busy week or during a busy week, it's these things that keep me anchored. Like when I was young, or much younger, I definitely was inspired by like comic books as well. I didn't read as many comic books as I wasn't exposed to that many, just from maybe TV or something.
Mm-hmm.
But um I liked that instead of reading, books, which is kind of ironic because I wrote a book now that, doesn't have doesn't have much pictures, which is
Right.
funny. But back then, yeah, like you give me something visual and I just loved looking at the characters and, staring at all of that. And so, I did make comics back then, actually.
You did.
Yeah, yeah, I did make comic books in my school days, and I made even my own interpretation of like Spider-Man, just how he got his powers and all that stuff.
Nice.
And I lost the book, but comic books and storytelling is really one of the reasons that I like drawing, besides just like characters. If I'm drawing a character, I'll never forget. Every time I draw like a character, then I start thinking, oh, and now there's a story, and I'd want to tell the story. And so that's definitely one of the big reasons why I like to draw.
Yeah, comics was it for me for sure as a kid. Feel like
Oh yeah?
that the combination of the art seemed magic to me like when I was a kid,
Mm,
and like just the, the fact that anybody could draw anything, you know, that looked like something. I was such a bad artist as a kid. It was really
yeah.
frustrating. I was always more
No
like I would
way.
write the stories and then I would draw kind of crappy figures, and just the magic of being able to draw and then putting that together with the pictures. Rosie says it still seems like witchcraft. It does. It definitely feels like witchcraft to me.
Oh, what exactly?
Just being able to draw, right?
Uh,
taking taking
it's
taking
unreal.
something in your mind and manifesting it on a page. Like it's magic,
Yeah,
right?
it's so powerful, man. It's really like I believe that, we everyone is creative,
Mm-hmm.
and that we were created to create. Like it's just it's in our DNA
Mm-hmm.
to want to bring something. And imagination is one of the most powerful gifts that we have. Some people are creative in the sense of, problem solving in mathematics, or things that you and me may not be so interested in, but
Mm-hmm.
creative all the same. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Math is
that
definitely it's an art in and of itself, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that the fact that we get to, be able to bring these worlds to life, and, draw inspiration from what's around us to create something that's never been, is it's really cool. It's
Yeah,
really, really cool when you talk about it.
for sure. Fenta Pinecone said he had a lapse and then taking a basic drawing class was super helpful getting back into it. I think that's a
Mm,
good way to go. So you and I are both students of Patrick Jones, the artist who
yes.
has been a guest on this live stream before. Was his course or his courses part of the kind of getting the momentum for you and getting back into it?
It was the course, like his courses were the ones that made drawing feel easy and fun again.
Mm-hmm.
His, out of all the courses that I had encountered, like made that breakthrough for me. Like the avoiding of burnout, because I had the experience of learning from someone else that, has students and has his technique and method, but I found it a bit too technical. I found
Mm-hmm.
it didn't simplify drawing, which I believe a good teacher does. A good teacher is able to just simplify what's complex
Mm-hmm.
and make it easy for someone to understand, and then they just run with it. And so, Patrick Jones' approach to the way he teaches how to draw figures, because that's what he does, but I believe the principles apply to any drawing anything.
Yeah, sure.
That was like the biggest uh breakthrough moment for me, and it came just like right on time. So, and it's when I saw even the most improvement in my drawings, because I could show you like how my drawings looked early last year, right? Like I was basically at beginner level, but by the end of the year, like, can safely say intermediate. And that jump didn't come from like all those months, really. It came from learning the right way under Patrick Jones. And so I'm really grateful for his material.
Yeah, I think it's important finding someone, and you talk about this in the book too, finding a teacher or a mentor
Yeah,
or somebody who resonates with you, right? So, like you said, his
yeah,
style for me is absolutely the way I want to learn. I've
yeah.
I always try to invest in my own improvement. So I'll do I'll take some courses online and try to find
Hmm.
different tutorials or different classes. And like a lot of the popular ones, they have little things popping up on the screen and little jokes and sound effects and stuff. And that
Hmm.
doesn't do it for me. Like a lot of people like that, and I
Yeah,
understand why. But for me, Patrick just he draws, he's calm, he talks you through it, but
yeah,
it's not intimidating. He's sort of just just narrates his own drawing, and you just draw along. And to me, that's the way
yeah.
to go for my own, like the way I learn. And so yeah, I think like you say, it's important to find a teacher or somebody who really speaks to you, and you can speed up your improvement, because it's pretty remarkable that you were at beginner level. What did you say, like a year ago?
Yeah.
And
Year
look at
ago
those
in
hands.
January.
Look at those hands.
Look,
They're amazing.
thank you so much, man. Like, yeah, and I wouldn't have believed it if you told me,
Hmm.
back then. So I'm grateful for the progress.
Emma says that she's going through a bit of a lapse when drawing and took up crocheting, and that's turned into the creative outlet. I think that's a good thing,
Nice.
right? Find something sort of also creative. Maybe take a break from the one thing, do the other, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of transference, right?
yeah,
They can feed each other.
that's true. That's true. Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about, like, you know, I'd say any discipline, but especially when it comes to like arts and crafts, creating stuff. And in that, like, certain things you learned
Hmm.
in drawing then transfer, like you're saying, over into that, and you're still creating, so it's nice. And who knows what like might inspire you to go back into drawing from this like new chapter you're in, but the most important thing is to be creative, and being creative and exploring, right? Like, more about yourself than you never would have realized had you not gone into crocheting. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think just the I wonder, having not done crocheting yet myself, I wonder if
Hmm.
thinking in that way, I think about this with sculpture. I've always wanted to learn sculpture, because I think that thinking kind of in the round, thinking in that way, three dimensionally,
Yeah,
would be very beneficial to 2D drawing.
true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like, I've never stopped to think about what you're saying. Is it actually makes sense. It's it's one of the reasons why I wanna, really spend some time in like perspective drawing, because I know that's gonna uplift my figure drawings even more.
Hmm.
There's a lot that I've learned, like, and again, Patrick Jones is an excellent teacher, like when it comes to even foreshortening, right?
Yeah, the hardest
In such
things.
a way that, right? And he's like, he then made me want to challenge myself because he likes to challenge himself, like he likes the complicated poses, and now I like the complicated poses. So
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
a good thing.
Going
It's a
going for
good
it
thing.
like
But
that is exciting.
yeah, it really is.
I've found that over the years, like the better I get at drawing, the more I
Hmm.
love it, the more exciting it is,
Yeah,
and that kind of each level up brings sort of a renewed enthusiasm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You talk about the fluency gap in the book, and
Hmm.
that's like your memory, what you see in your mind and what your hand puts down on the page. There's a disparity, right? And that could be frustrating.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah. It's
you experienced that yourself?
oh yeah, especially when, before it was even like me coming back or trying to come back into drawing was even when I was just drawing with the little experience that I had from the
Hmm.
fundamentals, where in your mind it's like, okay, I know what a building looks like. I want to draw, someone hanging from a building, clinging on to his life. But because you don't really know perspective
Hmm.
and things like that, then you can't really put it down on the page. And then when it comes to now wanting to come back to drawing and something you used to draw well, and it's been long enough that you don't, you're unable to execute, yeah, that doesn't help at all. And that definitely happened once, I believe 2000 and maybe 19, which is the last time I tried to draw anything seriously. And yeah, like the comic book that I had started and stuff, I'd missed some things,
Hmm.
and from the time off. So I've definitely experienced it, and it's obviously not encouraging, especially if like you've you look at work that you've done and like was really impressive, which was never my case, but you've made really impressive work, etc. And then now you're coming back into it and it's like you don't know what you're doing, and then that feeds into imposter syndrome, etc. it,
Yeah,
it
you have
can be
a
really bad.
baseline from before, right? If you draw
Yeah.
every day for a while, your baseline it goes up, and then if you take years off, the baseline goes back down, and you feel
Oh,
like you should be where you were before, but you've dropped below that even more, and then that can be just frustrating to the point where you don't want to draw anymore, right?
yeah, it can be so brutal, like to somebody's like confidence,
Hmm.
and emotionally speaking. So it makes sense why it can be so bad, but one should know that it's normal,
Hmm.
because it's like it's also known as skill atrophy, right? Which is basically, you're working a muscle when you draw, right? And whether it's the mind and it's the hands and actually both, if you stop putting them to work or you stop exercising, then atrophy begins. And
Hmm.
so naturally over time, what's going to happen is then you kind of lose, you no longer peak. And the best way to get back is to just start practicing again. And
Wow.
and it's okay.
Yeah, I find if I take a little time off, like if I travel back to the U.S. to visit family, it might be a week or two where I don't do any drawing, and then I try to draw, and there's already that
Mm,
atrophy, right? Just after a couple weeks.
yeah.
But I also find like getting over that is pretty quick, and I imagine even if it's been a few
Yeah.
years, like it's almost like riding a bike, not quite, but
Hmm.
maybe close to that, where it one or two focused drawing sessions, and you start to remember, your hand starts to remember what you're doing, and then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of getting over that initial maybe disappointment. Once you get past that, it's way more fun.
Yeah. That's true. And I it's because like you don't your body doesn't really forget, like
Hmm.
it's more of needing to be refreshed. And I believe it's more of a mental thing. And I feel like the more artists, especially lapsed artists, know that's normal, I feel like then that encourages them to then go through the process of getting back to top form, rather than thinking that, oh, something's wrong with me, or well, this shouldn't be happening. And it's like, no, it will happen as a natural consequence of no longer drawing. But the natural consequence of drawing again and practicing again is that you will remember, you know, what you've already learned
Hmm.
before, and you
I,
get back into top form.
I find that even like every time I live stream, when I'm supposed to start drawing, and I think I've completely forgotten how to draw every time. And then like once I start doing it, then it's fine. But it's that like the blank page and the having to start and
Yeah,
like, oh man, I have completely forgotten everything I've ever learned and I have no idea what I'm doing. Uh, but but that goes away really quickly. And then it's kind of even more
yeah,
it's even more of a joy because the you have that the expectation goes way down and then it comes right back up,
yeah,
and then that difference between where it goes down to and where you're at, like, oh, that's right, I can do this. It's just been, it's been a couple of days or it's been a couple of weeks or however, a few years even.
yeah,
um
yeah, yeah. Which, God forbid that ever ends up being my case. I don't, I wouldn't want to be away for it from that long. But I mean, if you are someone that's in that situation, it's okay, and it's fine to just like get back on your feet.
yeah, Rosie has been lapsed in writing for longer than she wants to admit, and what usually stops is the
Mm.
loud critic in your head. Is that a thing for anyone else? Yeah, do you have a critic in your head that's telling you, you know, don't bother?
Oh, yeah, it comes and goes,
Hmm.
right? Because and I believe it's especially when you want to pursue something bigger than what you're comfortable with. So, let's say in my case, okay, figure drawing, I've got a pretty good handle on it, but I could always go deeper, when it comes to anatomy, if I'd like, and but then there's that voice where it's like, man, are you sure you want to be going through all of this and this? Why don't you just rush it out and get started on this? And I know if I do that, that's just gonna, you know, domino effect into me not really wanting to continue drawing because I won't execute it properly,
Hmm.
right? Like I have long-term plans, not that long-term, but long-term plans of creating my own comic books, like in stories, graphic novels especially. Because apparently the difference is that comic books are more like, continued, basically meant to keep going and running, and then graphic novels are like can be contained stories. That's
Yeah.
basically what I research. And so I would rather like make graphic novels personally. But as you know, man, like art is such an umbrella term, and there's so many practices, there's so many disciplines underneath art. Like comic books alone, you gotta have at least a fundamental understanding of perspective, right? And figure drawing
Hmm.
and composition, some inking if you choose to do it that way, like traditionally and stuff. But you still have to have an understanding of those things, some color theory there, etc. And so I'm taking things a step at a time. And along that path is definitely the thing of, is it even worth pursuing? Are you sure you want to keep doing that?
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
and
stay in the safe zone, right?
I've always thought that comics, graphic novels, is maybe the most sophisticated art form. It's one of those ones that gets belittled because people think it's for kids, but it's actually super sophisticated.
Mm,
Tiny Dragon says it takes a lot of critical thinking and keen observation skills to properly process the art side of reading comics. Like just to read comics is a language in and of itself,
yeah,
and then to make it
yeah.
is even more so. I think making comics you have to juggle so many things, like it's
Oh yeah.
kind of all the skills from all the arts put together. But that's one reason that I love it. I love that kind of the challenge and the kind of sophistication of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. It's definitely more demanding than it might appear because of what you were saying.
Hmm.
And it made me think about something. I don't remember exactly what. It's another thing where it's like, I like video games, So how complicated it is tech wise to like create the assets and design the assets and things working together, etc. And most people think like that's something for kids. I mean, it isn't necessarily that true today, but when I was growing up, for
Yeah,
sure. Like,
definitely.
I had I had a relative that, like, she was kind of like a grandmother, but I was only 12 years old. My mom got me a PSP for Christmas, and she's like, "Man, you still playing games? I thought you were older now." And I'm like, "What? What are you what?" Like, this is for kids? Are you serious?
Yeah, it's funny because I think that probably 90% of chat is are adults who play video games now, and I think that
Yeah.
a video game is like a movie that you participate in. Like it's way
Yeah,
more interesting and interactive and engaging than just there's the passive
100%.
entertainment of watching TV, watching a movie, whatever, and then the active entertainment of playing a video game. And I would put reading comics as an active entertainment because you have to like
Yeah,
Tiny Dragon was saying earlier. There's so many things to juggle. But yeah,
yeah, that's true.
that's definitely a kind of a misconception. I feel like that's going away, thankfully. I guess as the
Yeah,
generation that grew up playing video games becomes adults now. Because I know my
yeah.
parents and my grandparents never had video games when they were growing up, so they just
Hmm.
they don't get it, right?
Yeah, they don't get it. And I hope the same thing happens with art, man. Like, not seen as something that kids do in their youth and then
Hmm.
get over it as they're older. Like, the world that we live in is literally shaped by art. Like, the clothes that we wear, the buildings that we live in,
Yes.
the phones that we use, the movies we watch. Like,
The road
our
signs
world
we
is literally
see, the
shaped by
packaging of
art.
everything,
Yeah,
the computer you're using,
man.
every single thing in our lives, there was an artist involved in its creation. Every single thing. And yeah, you're totally right. I think about this a lot. People just completely ignore that fact, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and so, if you're anyone in the chat who's like, maybe you aspire to be an artist and you're not sure if, taking a different job is the most secure route, like, literally the world we live in is shaped by art. And I feel like you would do way more walking in your element in your path
Hmm.
than, playing it safe or compromising for what the world tells you is so much better. I've never felt more accomplished and more determined by choosing to come back to drawing and drawing the way I do than doing anything else. Like, honestly.
Well, just the fact of being aware of art around you is it's just
Yeah.
incredibly enriching. Like I feel like there was the time before I was aware of what we just spoke of, like the art and everything, and then there was a time after, and the time
Hmm.
after just made my life better. Like just more whole, more
Yeah.
complete. Um, I, I can appreciate it more, and
Yeah.
like I feel like that should be one of the goals that we have as a society is teaching people to kind of
Hmm.
engage with with that feeling because I think it leads to
Yeah.
a more well-rounded and probably healthier society.
Oh, 100%. We need more people walking in their creative path, man. Like, you could work even in an area of your interest and not necessarily be doing what you love, and you're gonna feel it one day. Like, I'm speaking from experience. I, for a time, was working at the games industry, and this was as a QA tester.
Hmm.
Now the thing is, it's like I never desired to make, to QA games. Is, I wanted to create my own, etc. So that was like, okay, but I'm in now, and that's cool, and I'm grateful, and I'm learning so much from other people in other fields. But it started to eat me up from inside. Where it was like, I don't really like this.
Hmm.
This is not the part of this that I enjoy. Um, but I
Because
cannot say the same for art.
well, we have the responsibility to make a living, right? But we also have the
Yeah,
responsibility to be fulfilled, and and
exactly.
I think a lot of people forget that.
And I feel, just to add on that, John, like when you're pursuing something that's more fulfilling to you, you will do whatever it takes to make it work. Like, the difficult days are not so difficult because you're already driven by the fact that you like what you're doing, you
Mm-hmm.
know, on the difficult days. And I know that lately, we have a society that pushes more comfort rather than embracing challenges,
Mm-hmm.
embracing failure, being patient, right? When I came to Brazil, it wasn't like I had everything figured out. I knew I had to learn a new language, etc., but I was willing to take the step and just take it from there. And I'm grateful to God for every step and every person I've met. And here I am doing something I never imagined before, but it was because I took that step. I was willing to, not have everything figured out and just figure it out along the way. And I'm so much better for it. And so even with art, like what you're saying, man, like pursuing fulfillment is so much better than pursuing any kind of financial security. And it's not as if you can't make, a fortune off of art,
Mm-hmm.
for example. It's not like it's impossible, but I think number one, are you enjoying what you're doing? Do you love to do it? Because so long as you do, man, then everything else is a bonus.
That's right. I agree. Um, Tiny Dragon says they realize their inner critic is trying to protect me from negative experiences that might come from sharing my work. Just a little bit too enthusiastic
Mm,
sometimes. So there's another risk, right? Like you put your work out
yeah.
there, and maybe it doesn't get the response you were hoping for, or
Mm-hmm,
not even
mm-hmm,
that. You're
mm-hmm.
worried it's not going to get the response you're hoping for, and that
Yeah,
can be really paralyzing, right?
it can. It can, 100%. Like, um, and I think that then, like, comes back into what I like to call the art master's mindset, which is how do the art masters or the art pros, I guess, in our today everyday language, how do they process drawings and stuff? And the best person I can reference is Patrick Jones, of course. I know that Steve, is it Houston or Houston?
I
Do you
never
know how
know.
to?
I can
You
never
know
tell.
that?
Yeah, I always in
All
my
right.
mind it's Houston, but yeah, I
Okay,
get
no,
it.
I've heard people say Houston as well before, but I
Yeah.
know there's a Houston in the US, so that's what confuses me. But anyways, um, you know, when it comes to like the inner critic, what you have to what helps is realizing that there's no such thing as a perfect drawing or a perfect, piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
The very fact that like the bad drawings are a perfect opportunity to learn from your mistakes. And so just embracing them as that and not being attached to every single drawing, especially your sketches, right? Then, that releases you from the pressure that it has to look good, right? And I think if you look for what you did do good rather than besides what you already know you did wrong, but like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but I did manage to get this right. I did manage to get this right. Now when you share your artwork, then at least there's an acknowledgement of that and you like it first before anyone else does, and that's the most important thing. You're happy with the fact that I drew today and I made this, and so when I put this up, it's not necessarily to impress anybody, and if someone is great, but I'm mostly doing this for me because when I was a kid drawing for myself, it wasn't with the expectation that somebody was gonna love it or approve it or like it, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it was because it was something I wanted to create and I created it. And I think we need to come back to that place as artists. It's so much healthier and it's stress free, and it definitely silences the inner critic much faster than any other method that I know.
Crochet says it is pronounced Houston, so we'll go with that, I
Houston.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
one thing that really motivates me is that you see artists in every stage of their career, and they're still trying to get better. Like there's no end point. Every artist
Mm-hmm.
is always moving, and that's like one of the most exciting things to me is that
Yeah.
it's the constant kind of climb that you're always on. There's no, I mean, it would be horrible if one day you said, well, I guess all my art is perfect now, so that's everything I draw from now on is
Oh,
totally like how
oh,
awful would that be? That's way
oh,
worse than making bad drawings from
yeah,
time to time, or making a majority of
yeah,
bad drawings. Like I would rather have the bad drawings mixed in than have everything just be it's 100% perfect. There you go. Because what's the point anymore? Why would you
yeah,
like the kind of fun of it is gone. Um,
yeah. That's true, man. I would hate to be in that kind of place. Oh no, no. It's beautiful when you leave room for growth when it comes to drawing. I'd say like in any area of our lives, but just because we're all here to draw, we're gonna focus on drawing.
yeah.
But like, yeah, just like always acknowledging that there's room for more, and there's no getting there. There's no getting there when it comes to this thing. You
Well,
know,
the there
I
is where you
remember
are, right? We're all already there. The joy of it is in the making, and and
exactly. It's in the process. That's it.
we've all already arrived.
That's it. Yeah. We just don't realize it yet. And the longer we stay there, then things start to like change, in terms of like our output and how good it looks and stuff like that. But always being open to learning and growing and knowing that there's so much more to discover, which is exciting. Yeah, that just is what makes art so fun.
Hmm.
So fun to do.
So that said, there was a part in your book that I really like, which was, oftentimes we make something and we look at it and we immediately look at the thing that we don't like, right? We point to what's not working, what's not good about this, and that's an important thing to do to improve, right? The
Yeah,
self critique is an important skill. But you say that
yeah,
look at what you like about it, and pick out things in your
yeah.
drawings that you're happy with, and focus on those. It can be a good strategy for growing.
Yeah, yeah. In some ways it's even like an attitude of gratitude, right? Like there's I don't know a single person who trying to draw something has done so horribly that there's nothing that they can take from it like in a positive way.
Hmm.
Sometimes the positive take is just like I drew something, right? I haven't drawn in years and I drew something. And
Hmm.
that's worth, remembering and considering despite all things, because that's what's going to keep you going more than the mistakes. Like we'll always make mistakes and we'll always have things in our drawings that we feel we could have done better, but how about acknowledging the things that we did do good or that we do like? I feel it goes a longer way in terms of sustaining us and keeping us going and making us grateful that we actually took the time to do this, and like you're learning something new, you're learning a different uh principle or practice, and there's something that you got right, there's something that you seem to have understood,
Hmm.
whether it was just even laying it down is worth acknowledging more than the fact that like I didn't get the perspective that the way I could have hoped. And it's like the person who's teaching you also didn't get it day one.
That's right.
So take it easy on yourself.
Yeah, everybody started. Everybody was a beginner at one point.
Yep.
Tiny Dragon says, sometimes it's hard for me making peace with the days when I have the time, the pencil in my hand, hot cup of tea, and I cannot make myself draw. I have ADHD, and sometimes my brain will not cooperate for one reason or another. It's very frustrating.
Mm,
That's tricky when there's like I guess a neurological reason, a
yeah.
brain reason that's kind of an impediment.
Hmm.
I don't know, Tiny Dragon. Do you have strategies for overcoming that? And
Yeah, I'd be
I don't know
curious
too
to
much about
hear it.
that.
What I would suggest and see if it helps, because it's yet to be seen if it will help, is like, and it's something I cover in the book. It has to do with like habit formation. I don't know if you've read this book, John. It's called Atomic Habits by
I know
James
of it.
Clear. Bro, I recommend that book, man. I hope when you have time, like give it a read. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. And it covers like, what forms a habit, and it starts at the cue where it's like, let's say I enter a dark room, and then that's a cue that leads to a craving. My craving is that I want to turn the light on. And so my
Hmm.
response is turning on the light in the room. And then my reward is that I can see. And that's just an example of, like, cue, craving, response, and reward. And so one of the things I cover in my book is just even like how your environment can either encourage you to draw or not to draw, you know?
Hmm.
And those things definitely influence us to a degree as to whether we're gonna give our attention to drawing or output or be encouraged to draw. Like, can you imagine if you put like all your art tools drawn like in some kind of storeroom every time you finish drawing every day?
Yeah.
There's a higher chance that you're gonna stop drawing
Yeah.
than
You
if
got to
you
make it
have a
convenient,
space where
right?
it's just exactly, out in the open. So it's like one of the things of making it easy.
Hmm.
So, just see if there's a way to make it as easy as possible to feel encouraged, because I know you're speaking about like a mental thing, right? Which is tricky because I haven't studied much in it, but like just see if, there's a way to make your environment encourage you more to want to draw than how it's looking now. I'd be
Hmm.
interested to hear if that does anything for you, and I hope it does truly.
Yeah. Teddy Dragon says, when I can't draw, I will sometimes try to engage with art in another way. Pull out a reference book to look at, read some comics, watch a favorite animated movie for
Mm,
inspiration. Yeah, I keep a stack of art books near my drawing area, and usually like I'll just pick up a random one, flip to a random page, and if I'm
mm,
feeling a little bit like I don't know if I feel like drawing right now, and it almost always
yeah.
does the trick. We've got an ad break coming up. This 3 minute ad, Twitch is going to show you guys a whole bunch of stuff that you probably don't want. I recommend instead of watching the ads, open a new tab and go over and get Ndzaba's book, Draw Again, Dream Again. There's the Kindle version and the paperback. And look at this. If you're in Taiwan and you have Prime, Ndzaba has a YouTube. You live stream on YouTube, right?
Yeah, yeah. I live stream every Fridays. I call it Let's Draw Live, and it's just for any artists with art-related questions that I can help answer as they either draw along with me or watch me draw.
And you can see the right above my head. There's the YouTube, so you guys can search there. And let me see. Crochet wants to know if you enjoy drawing from life more or less than drawing from reference photos.
Mm, want to talk about enjoying. So, I haven't had the experience of drawing from life, like as in going to a life drawing class.
Hmm.
All I've had is reference, or at the most, like, a video on like YouTube or something of people doing timed poses. So, because it's the only reference or the only experience that I have, it's basically the drawing from reference. So whenever I, for example, was like practicing to draw my hand this weekend, I like that more. Or when I'm drawing like one of my daughters and stuff, like they just angles I could see better.
Hmm.
So I imagine I would like the life drawing more, because you know how like photos, they tend to like, kind of compress and distort angles in a way that your eye doesn't read in real life.
Yeah,
I'd
right.
be very interested and curious to see how life drawing sessions would be for me.
Yeah, some of the new Masters Academy YouTube, they have like the video of the model instead of the still photos. I think that's a little bit better.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the actual life drawing is hard to replace. But it is nice that we live in an era
Hmm.
where we have the choice. I found that New Masters Academy is also a great resource for learning art. So Patrick Jones, of course, but New Masters Academy is also more kind of classic, traditional kind of training.
Hmm.
And like I said before, that speaks to me, uh,
I
maybe
see.
more so than some of the fancy edits and stuff. And that's where Steve
Yeah, yeah,
Houston
yeah, yeah.
is a teacher. I think he was a founder of that actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did see that he'd been with them for like a long time. Like I once browsed through their YouTube, and I saw like he had been there like from like years ago, but uh, if he was like one of the founders, then that it would make sense. Either way, it like he's been there for a long time.
And that's where Patrick learned, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, he did say he's still a member to this
I
day,
think he has a lifetime membership.
Um, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've heard good things about New Masters Academy as
Yeah,
well.
their courses are great.
And
I did a 1 year membership with them a few years ago, and it was really wonderful. There's a quote in your book that I really like. It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite part of the book. And
oh
it
wow.
says, well, it's my favorite kind of concept. I think this is an important thing
Okay.
for art. It says the distance between where you are and where you want to be is not a reflection of your potential. It's simply a measure of practice you haven't done yet. So
Yeah.
it's not that you see somebody that you like their art and you compare yourself to it and it's like I could never do that. You could do that.
hmm
There's just a gap of practice in between. Like with any skill, anything you learn, and I think that people don't appreciate that art is a learnable skill. People think that it's natural talent.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. And it's funny the conversation of, talent and discipline is another thing, but it's true. Like I realize this just even with my own life, that that's pretty much the distance of where I want to be and where I am now is basically what I don't know yet.
Hmm.
And if I'm willing to discover what it is that I don't know, then I'll get there. And it's possible, just like you're saying, it's possible. It's just a matter of taking that step and understanding that that's all that's holding you back, what you don't know.
Yeah,
But what you don't know can be done.
other people have learned how to do it, so why can't we, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
there's
obviously
nothing different.
yeah, it's
Sorry, go
learnable.
ahead.
It's learnable. It can be learned
hmm
because people have learned it. So other people's success
Yeah,
is proof. And so kind of following on that, you say that the mindset people who believe that abilities are fixed, they say I'm just not talented. They tend to quit when faced with a challenge. And people who believe that abilities can be
yeah.
developed, like with practice, are far more likely to persist. And I think that's an important mindset.
hmm
Um, like just understanding that these things can be learned and you can get better, and
Yes.
kind of accepting that is really motivational to keep going.
Yeah, yeah, no, and it's a powerful mindset to have because man, then really sky's the limit, right? Like there's nothing that you can't achieve or can't become or can't discover or learn or master with that kind of mindset. Like
Hmm.
really, it's it's a buffet of just artistic potential when you choose to have a learner's heart and not feel like, this is all I'm capable of doing. This is, the way I can draw. This is, you just open yourself up. Maybe you can do more than you think, and you possibly can. And yeah, the opportunities are endless when you have a mindset like that.
And you say that studies show that the short, frequent practice is more beneficial than longer but rare practices.
Yep, 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 yep. Would you like me to elaborate on that?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it shortly, I mean, you get a lot more out of consistency than long spurts once in a while,
Hmm.
right? Because what we're doing whenever we're coming up and drawing, even 10 minutes a day, is we are working our muscle memory and our motor memory, like the hands are getting into the whole flow and remembering, and every time you come, you then become better. And so if you're someone with a busy lifestyle, maybe you don't have an hour to spend, drawing, you could do a lot with 10 minutes of daily practice because It's not about how long you can draw. It's not even about drawing every day, but it's about consistency, you know?
And everybody has 10 minutes a day, right? Like we can all find a 10
Oh
minute
yeah.
10-minute chunk of time every day.
Yeah. That's without a doubt. I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat can tell me they have at least in their 24-hour day 10 minutes to pull
Mhm.
something out. And you might not make something that you would have wanted. You know what I mean? Like I like drawing the figure, but sometimes I don't have time to, go into detail and things like that. But if I can get something, even if it's shapes, even if it's lines, even if it's practicing, lines of action I mean action lines or,
Mhm.
you know, gestures,
You can do
that's
10
still
1-minute
something
gesture drawings
that's
in 10 minutes.
ex exactly, you see? You see?
And then
So
you drew
10
10
minutes is
figures in 10 minutes.
look at that. Look at that, y'all. I hope y'all are getting some breakthrough from this chat because you would think you needed to be dedicated, at an art school, etc. And it's like just 10 minutes in your day, online resource can do so much for you right now.
And then that becomes habitual. So,
Yeah.
like early on in my career, when I wanted to try to be like a full-time professional artist, I knew that I needed to have
Mm,
a period of time every day where I was, working towards that. And the first few
mm,
weeks, like my old schedule when I first moved to Taiwan, I was teaching English 4 to 9 p.m. every day. And my idea was
mm.
like 10 or 10:30 p.m. and I would work at nighttime because I'm a night owl naturally. And so I would work
Okay.
for
Okay.
several hours at night and then sleep in the morning. And the first like week or two, it was really hard. I would get back from work, have dinner, and it's like, okay, I have to sit down and start making art, but there's like the the inertia or whatever, like getting to do that
Hmm.
was really hard. But once I did it for maybe 2 weeks, if I didn't do it, it felt weird. Like if at
Yeah.
10:30 I wasn't sitting at my desk drawing something, it felt like something was wrong because it became like just the thing that I do at this time. And I think
Hmm.
that getting the ball rolling on it and getting the momentum is is kind of half the half of the trick, right? Making it part of your habit, part of your
Yeah.
daily routine,
Yeah.
is kind of a powerful thing to do.
It is. It is. No, that's 100% true. And yeah, like especially, like when you have responsibilities and it's like trying to figure out where to put it in. But most of the time we don't want it to, we don't want it to have to cost something, right? It has to be as convenient as
Hmm.
possible, only to find that, you know what, this is the only time I have. Let's just go in and do it and, overcome that inertia, like you're saying. And if you start to find that that's time better spent because of what you gain out of it. And I feel like that's why drawing, as opposed to doing something else in that time that's like consuming entertainment, is a far more productive activity because of what it does to you,
Hmm.
not even just in skill, but also just in how you feel after the session.
But also kind of you prove to yourself that you can do that. And not just for making art, but for anything really. Like if you can
Yeah.
if you can consistently draw for 10 minutes a day, then you can find another 10-minute time to do something else that you're that you really wished you could do, right?
Hmm.
Like we can find ways
Yeah, yeah,
to roll these things in, and it's not just art. It's again, like we said before, it's all transferable, right?
yeah, yeah. I believe principles are universal, and there's even a physics principle that says like all principles are microcosms of one another. So that basically means if it works in one area, it has to work in another, and otherwise it's not a physics law,
Hmm.
otherwise it can't be considered a law, right? So Yeah, these are things that you can apply in every area of your life, but especially if you're wanting to, be consistent in art and stuff. Know that it's normal to just feel like the resistance to do things, the days that you feel off, you know, the imposter syndrome like we were talking about earlier, but that there is a way to overcome it. And number one is just understanding that it's normal. You're
Hmm.
not the only one. And I think that's why it's something like your platform is really powerful, John, in that it brings people together. Like community is so like it's underrated as one of the ways to continue drawing. I don't know what your take would be on that.
Yeah, definitely doing it where there's a kind of support network, not in a vacuum, but where there's kind of people
Yeah.
who encourage you, maybe keep you motivated, keep you honest. Is a good way. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why like the various social media art challenges were so successful or have been so successful. Like what is it,
Mm-hmm.
Inktober, things like that. There's kind of a community that
Yeah.
it creates, and it keeps people. You're on the hook for it if you say you're going to do it. Like if you put it out there that you're going to do this thing,
Yeah.
and then you might be more inclined to not miss it, not skip a day.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, this I butchered this hand, man. This
Same
hand
here. This one
is
is
not
hard.
this.
This is a really hard hand. This pinky. Let's take a look at this. Let me put this up on the screen. This
Yeah, please.
this pinky, the way that it's bent, that's
Mm-hmm.
really thrown me. And then the way that the
Yeah.
foreshortening of the thumb around there, I feel like
Yep.
I left a gap here in my drawing, and I guess I shouldn't have. One thing I always remember that I got from Patrick Jones is that he says like the floor always wins. You know, when you're sitting on the floor or on a
Mm-hmm.
chair, or something
Mm-hmm.
hard, or you're
Mm-hmm.
squishing down, it makes that flat line. It doesn't make a curve because
Yeah.
yeah, the floor is harder than your fingers, and it's always gonna leave that
Yeah.
that kind of flat. But man, this is a tough one. Yeah, I'm
It
I'm
is. It
having trouble
is.
with that as well.
It I underestimated it for sure.
Richard says it's the same like exercise. That's right. Once you get into a habit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it is exercise. Really, it's art exercise.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that you also mentioned is the burden of the past guilt, right? If only I had kept drawing all
Yeah.
those years, I'd be so much better now. But
Yeah.
if you say that as like an excuse not to start, then in 1 year from now, you'll be thinking, if only I had started a year ago when I was thinking, why didn't I start 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a like a kind of compounding. I don't know if it's an excuse or kind of a reason not to
Mm-hmm.
do it. Maybe another one of those paralyzing things, and that's really
Yeah.
it makes itself worse. It's self fulfilling in a way, right?
Yeah, it is definitely. It's it doesn't solve the problem.
Right.
Dwelling on what could have been instead of changing it to what could be. So it's yeah, it's not helpful thinking. It's fine a process. You're obviously allowed to have thoughts and feelings about stuff, but then it's like, okay, what do I do now?
Right.
What opportunities do I have now for this to stop happening, right? And I think that's the most important step to take when it comes to that. Like, okay, you've left it for years, and in my case, I just went back to the basics, and
Hmm.
that was it. There's nothing I can do about yesterday or the past or what's happened. There's only everything I can do about what's happening right now, and I think that's the most important thing to take away from when it comes to life, because life happens as well. It's not, I don't imagine that anyone who's lapsed in art desired to do that.
Hmm.
Something got in the way. Some things, it's like it's not even like you're bored or whatever, like really just like life altering events can lead you to not necessarily be able to draw like you used to, right? And so it becomes a question of, all right, then what can I do now? and understand that like it's okay, it's normal. Like when I was promoting this book, it was the most time that I had spent in months not drawing,
Hmm.
and I did not like it, but
Right.
it was okay. You know, like it's fine. Like it's the one part of like this whole art thing that, some things will have to take priority in order for the rest of my art activities to continue consistently, but I can always just come back, and that's exactly what I did. And so, yeah, it will happen even as, you continue to have like a lifestyle and routine. And I go over that in the book, just like what you can do to navigate that, when you have off days, or when unexpectedly in your week something took your attention and stuff, and how to get back into that consistently and stuff. So they will happen, but there's always a way back into it, and it's so much simpler than you might imagine.
And you talk a lot about the mindset. The mindset is the most important thing, right? There's things that we can
Yeah.
there's things that we have no control over, and then there's the things that we have control over. And
Hmm.
keeping that in mind, uh, it's empowering, and it's also beneficial. I mean, it's the trick to doing it all. You talk about
Yeah.
discipline is an important thing, right? Discipline versus motivation. Like we might be motivated to
Yeah.
draw every day, but if we don't develop and kind of discover the discipline that we have, it's much more
Hmm.
difficult.
Yeah. 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 No, 100%. 100%. Because, you know, there definitely will be days where you're not that motivated, or there's something in what you're learning that you're not that interested in, but you
Hmm.
have to learn it in
Right.
order to, achieve what you want. That's not going to motivate you to keep going, right? But having a level of discipline, right? Like not making my reason to draw about feelings, but rather, purpose, the bigger picture, because feelings come and go. And when we base our actions and intents not on our feelings, but on the bigger picture, or whatever it is that we're doing this for, then it helps us to remain, consistent in those days. And it's like, it's okay. And over time, you find what you didn't really prefer to do is something that you start to appreciate, because it's helping you then to produce the work that you wanted to. So, yeah,
I
I
had that
think,
experience recently on live stream on this stream. I talked a
oh,
lot
yeah.
about how drawing drapery, I found it very boring and tedious, and I was
Mm,
totally uninterested in doing it, but I really needed to. And every time
yeah.
I would think, okay, I got to get better at drapery, I got to devote some time to it, I just say, I'd rather draw
Yeah.
hands. Um, but a- after I kind of focused on it and did it and got into it, I found the kind of joy in it, the fun in it. Thanks
Mm,
some to some art friends as well, and thanks as well to just the process of doing it. But are there any art
yeah.
techniques that you find particularly, I don't know, daunting or tedious, that you really have to
Mm.
force yourself to practice?
Warm ups. I don't like warming up. Not that I don't like to do it, but like it's something that I'm working to make more of a habit,
Hmm.
because I understand how beneficial it is for me, loosens the shoulders and all that good stuff. But man, I definitely think twice before warming up. I just like getting into the drawing, and even if the first one's a stiff, it's like it's fine. I wasn't expecting a Mona Lisa anyways,
What do you
but
usually do
I
for
would
warm
like
ups
to
when you do
practice
it?
that more. When I do it, streams of consciousness, I'll just like, you know, put on whatever on the page and just like be going with the motion. So
Hmm.
just like circling and circling, and the way Patrick Jones taught.
Right.
But that's how I warm up. How about you?
Yeah, when I warm up, it'll be, if I'm doing figure drawing, it'll be like 1 minute or 30-second gesture drawings, just
Yeah, yeah,
just to
yeah.
get going. And like Patrick says, like you do a lot of starts and you get that fundamental down. And for me,
Yeah.
the nice part about 30-second and 1 minute gesture drawings is that if they're no good, it's fine because then a minute is up and you're on to the next one. Uh,
Yeah, that's true.
and
It's
just
a
getting
good
that.
point.
And I had a professor in back in college who said like you got to do a bunch of really bad drawings in order to do a bunch of
Yeah.
really good drawings. And so he would have us do like a bunch of 1 minute drawings. He's like, let's say hypothetically you got to do 1,000 bad drawings. Well, we'll knock out 25 of them right now, 30 of them in a half an hour. And he's just you draw it, draw it,
Hmm.
draw it. He said, look at your drawings. Not so great, not so bad maybe, but you got that out of the way. You're that much closer to getting your good ones. I think Patrick calls them clangers.
Oh, I love that. Yep, that yeah, he calls them clangers.
I always think of it as getting the baddies out. Like you
Mm.
gotta get them out of your hand, get them out of your head, and then you can move on to
Yeah.
something else. But it's always interesting how like at the start of the day, kind of draw more stiff, and then as time goes by, just over the course of a couple of hours, the fluency
Yeah.
kind of comes in, and you really do need to warm up. It's something that I always
Yeah.
struggled with as well. Just like I don't want to warm up, I just want to get into it.
Exactly. But yeah, it's true, and it can't be understated. And something you spoke about when it comes to like the first tries is something I hope like your audience is paying attention to if they weren't aware about it before, which is that, the first drawings will always be the stiff looking ones.
Hmm.
And as you continue to draw, then it starts to look better. So like that's also one thing to, get off, get out of your mind or, remove from your expectations and how you're supposed to perform when you come on to draw, on your sketchbook or wherever you're drawing from.
That's the also the benefit. The kind of we're lucky in this field that the basics and the things that we need to practice the most really are the things that we can practice the most quickly.
Yeah.
Like there's really no substitute for the super fundamental stuff, but that super fundamental stuff
Hmm.
you can really do it without a lot of problem. I remember when really wanted to improve my ink line a few years ago, and
Hmm.
when you do your everybody tells you, okay, when you want to practice your ink line, you just got to fill up a sketchbook page of like thin to thick to thin, right? You get your control down, thick to thin to thick, stuff like
Hmm.
that. Draw your
Yeah.
circle like that, vary your weight, and it sounds so boring, but and I resisted it for a long time, and then finally I said, okay, I'm just gonna sit down, I'm gonna fill a sketchbook up of just these exercises, and it took maybe 15 minutes to fill the sketchbook up, like the not the whole book, but the page, right? The page of the sketchbook that was,
Hmm. Hmm.
this A4.
Yeah.
And I did that a few days in a row, and magically my incline got better, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
But there was so much resistance to it because it just seemed so tedious and so kind of rudimentary,
Hmm.
and it really
Hmm.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
take that long.
For real. Like it's something that, can't be said enough about the power of repetition,
Hmm.
which is like one of the things I teach as what I call the try and come back method. And I cover it in the book as well as in one of my programs, but it's the fact that like, you know, repetition is that powerful. I was telling you over, our call before the stream, just like how when you told me about the whole drawing a hundred hands, it was 100, right?
Yep.
That you drew, yeah. That, all of a sudden you got to see so much progress in your work. And I then just like took from that. And I remember because on Friday my hands weren't looking that good when I was drawing them on my live stream. I'm like, all right, let me just, crank a few out, etc. And I didn't have to like go to a course. I didn't have to, open up a video of how to draw a hand. I'm like I know what, the easy way of drawing already is. I just need to draw hands. And so I did that, and lo and behold, my hands started to look better. And It was not from, drawing a hand and drawing a figure, then drawing the sea and drawing a
Hmm.
car. It was just repeatedly being there. And then, it's a faster way to learn anything. And I'd highly recommend it for beginner artists. It still works for, experienced artists, but especially if you're just starting out, like the more you like repeat, the faster you start to see progress, and that's only gonna motivate you to continue repeating and continue drawing. So
It takes a
I
lot of pressure
recommend it
off
for
too.
sure.
If you're doing quick
Mm-hmm.
hands, for example, there's no expectation that you're going to be making finished, rendered,
Yeah.
beautiful looking pictures. You're doing it quick for a reason, and so it takes off a lot of that stress. And Richard says that Bob Ross, quoting Richard's quoting Bob Ross, he says that if there's one secret to painting, it's practice. And it also reminds me of one of I think my favorite art meme. Uh, it's it's has to do with just getting better at drawing. I think Spider-Man. I think Peter Parker's reading a
Mm.
book and it says how to get better at drawing, and then it cuts to the inside of the book and it just says draw, and then he cries, and it's like that's really what it is, The way to get better at
Yeah,
drawing is to draw.
yeah.
There's no shortcut. There's no other way. But like we've been saying this whole
There is not.
conversation, the real trick is making the drawing part of your daily routine,
Yeah.
and that's where the hard part is. Like how to get better at drawing might be drawing, but actually how to get better at drawing is figuring out a way to consistently draw.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's kind of the
definitely.
core of your book as well.
Yep, that's it because, like when I wrote this book, it was literally what happened to me. Like was away from art for a while. I came back to it. I had all these responsibilities. Found a way, discovered a way to do it consistently and see results in a short period of time. And I was like, man, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's going through this. And I just wanted to help that person who is trying to navigate that, in the midst of their responsibilities, but not wanting that to get in the way of taking time to pursue their dreams and their passions and gifts. And so that's that's who I'm out to help, like in the book. And there's so much valuable stuff that you get in there. And even if you're not somebody who hasn't drawn in a while and you're just like starting out and want to know the best way to go forward or to maintain the momentum that you have. And so yeah, it's what I went through, and I wanted to just help other people who it's actually a lot, in our day and age, who are having to do multiple things at once, but that to show it's not too late and it's still possible. And if you just commit yourself to the process, like you'll be surprised how easy it is. And it'll just, yeah, it'll just light a fire up inside you that you never had before and open doors that you never thought were possible.
I have it's really sad. I've known so many people over the years who were really good artists, and for whatever reason, they just kind of gradually stopped making art, or suddenly, and never got
Mm,
back into it. And like I
yeah,
wonder how many great artists we missed, as a
yeah,
society,
yeah.
because they just
Oh
couldn't
man,
get it into that rhythm, and just couldn't maintain it. And there's so much brilliance out there.
yeah, there is. And like, you said that, and an instant thought came into my mind that like the next Van Gogh was sitting in a cubicle, right? Instead
Yeah.
of being on a canvas, and it's crushing,
Hmm.
it really sucks. And
And it's not that
man,
they
like
can't sit at a
if
cubicle and do it. You could do both.
you could, you could. And it's just like being shown the way, sometimes it's our lack of awareness that doesn't allow us to see that these things are possible.
Hmm.
And so I really do hope that for those who didn't know or don't know how to navigate that, the book helps them where it comes to that, and just like maintaining that and everything.
Well, let's talk a little bit before we before the second hour is up. Let's talk a little bit about some
Mhm.
actionable things. So we talked a little bit about setting up a workspace to make it
Yeah.
convenient to draw, right? I've found
Hmm.
in my own experience that like in the times where I have lived in the same place that I've worked, there's been years where my studio and my home were the same building.
Yeah.
Having a place that's just for making art is really important. And now I have like a little
Yeah.
studio in my home now, and I never hang out there. Like if I'm relaxing, I will
Hmm.
never do it
Hmm.
in that room. I only go to that room when it's time to make art. And when I'm in that room, I'm making art. I'm not doing
Nice.
anything else. And then whenever I'm in that space, you kind of get that I don't know. Uh, it feels wrong doing anything else, right? You kind of associate it with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. You're actually implementing one of the principles from the Atomic Habits book, which speaks about separating places of doing certain activities. And so when you make this place or this space for a particular thing, it really helps you to maintain the habit. And so you're absolutely doing something good and right. And I'm similar in the sense that I have an office, like a workspace, and I'm here to work basically.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not drawing, it's something to do with the art business, right? But it's centered around that. I actually have two tables. This is the one I'm drawing on, and then I have another table on the other side of the room. That's for when I'm doing that, so that when
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to draw, I'm drawing. When I'm there to do business stuff, I'm doing business stuff. But the office space is centered around work. And when I leave that space, then I'm not doing any of that stuff for the most part. But yeah.
And like you said before, you don't have to set up your art table every time you want to draw. It's just always set up. You can just walk over,
Yeah,
pick up your tools, and just start drawing. The low kind of low friction, right?
exactly. Yeah, low friction. Like, it seems wrong because maybe our society makes it feel like, the more you grind and hustle, the more you've earned it or something. But like, do look to make habit formation, practicing, understanding as easy as possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I don't mean like, it won't require a level of discipline, but I just mean like it doesn't have to be so hard either. You're not gonna get a badge from anyone for saying that, man, I pack all my art stuff and in a closet, and then I get up and I put it back and stuff, and I'm still drawing. It's like you don't have to do that. You can just have it in a place that's easy to reach,
Mm-hmm.
and just get into it. Like, help yourself.
Yeah, we can make things easy on ourselves. So what about for
Mhm.
people who don't have like a spare room? What are some things that they can do if they have a smaller living space, or maybe there's more people in their living space to kind of have that dedicated work area?
Yeah, that's a good question. And what I would say is, um, there tends to be in these spaces like a place where you can draw in an isolated area. And I know that in those areas you can't necessarily leave your things there. So one of the things that you can do is maybe where you go to sleep, right? Your bed, you have your drawing tools nearby you, so that if the room where you draw is not even your bedroom and it's another space, maybe it's a living room or whatever, you're able to take it with you. It's portable, but it's nearby you. It's not packed away somewhere far, and you just take it with you when you finally have time to draw. Like, you've looked into your schedule, you've marked this time as a time for drawing in the dynamic of where you live, and you just do that. So just having the tools nearby you at the very least is helpful if you don't have a dedicated space to draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Having it like if the space can't be accessible, at least the tools could be accessible, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You talk about the cue routine reward for building momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So how can people
Yeah.
implement that sort of as an actionable thing?
Um, what they can do is it's all about reflection, right? And each chapter of the book has like a moment of like reflection and application. So it 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 takes the person, the artist, the reader having to look at, okay, I tend to reach for my phone when ABC happens.
Hmm.
And if I can replace that habit with something that encourages me to draw, then that's only going to increase my likelihood of drawing because habits can be replaced. And the easier you make a new habit repeatable, like by making it obvious, the example we made with the tools just being out there in the open, the more likely is you are to repeat it. Oh, and another thing is you make a good habit easy and you make a bad habit hard. So
Hmm.
let's say I'm always on my phone. And I could do without looking at my phone and doom scrolling right now because now's the time to draw and it's the only time I have in the day. And so what you would do in those moments is then put your phone aside, right? Like you could keep it on silent or do not disturb, face down, just a distance away from where you're working to draw, and then draw, and so that your phone's not right next to you as you're drawing, and all that's there in front of you is everything that's going to help you focus on your drawing session. And so that those are one of the things that you can do, is just identifying what it is that are bad habits and replacing them with good ones, and then making the bad habits harder to keep repeating and the good ones easier.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Rosie says found that keeping things accessible is helps on bad brain days. Everything is already set up and ready to go. And
Yeah.
that's right. Another actionable thing that I like is talking to your partner about it. If you live with somebody, you have a partner, and kind of you don't want to take time away from your family to do this stuff, but you can
Yeah.
kind of negotiate. You say like maybe I get one uninterrupted hour Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. You get Monday and Wednesdays, something like that. I know
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
we had a kid, like uh, covering for each other so we can still have a bit of our own life has been really
Mhm.
beneficial. And I kind of like that you point that out for making time, right? Maybe you and your partner
Yeah.
watch Netflix every night at 8, and you say let's watch it at 8:30, something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
kind of
Hmm.
expressing how important it is to
Yeah,
you.
no. Yeah, it's important. It's important for people to, like the people you live with, to know that, that this is something that you want to do. And I've learned that, people will, take you seriously according to how seriously you take yourself, or they will respect boundaries that you decide to put yourself, and like no one's going to do that for you. And
Hmm.
so if you take that step to just communicate, this is not a stranger in your life, and you just let them know that this is something that means something to you, and could we look for a way to just, work around this. And more times than not, people are okay. It would be a different case if like my wife just did not have me at all, for example, and I could not be there to help with the kids and things like that. But
Hmm.
rather than that, it was like, okay, I'm gonna wake up earlier. I still had to communicate that with her, but like I'm gonna wake up earlier. I'm gonna do my stuff, and then when the day begins, I'm there to give you guys attention, ABC.
Hmm.
And that's been working out for us. Now, my routine has kind of changed today, where I can draw during the day, but even then, it was established, and this dedicated time with her after the fact. So, like it doesn't have to be either or when it comes to like drawing and being with your loved ones and stuff. It can be both and, right? Because they say art imitates life, right? And so what's the point of art if you're not doing the living part? And so it's good to then still go out and live your life, and then
Hmm.
always come back to draw as well.
And you talk about that as well, having positive implications for long-term motivation, right? Doing things that you enjoy,
Mhm.
going out and living your life, because then you have something to say in
Yeah,
your work.
exactly. Exactly. Because, yeah, I mean, it's the things around us that inspire us to draw that, and we kind of forget that, being in our bubble or always being on social media, seeing people's finished work, forgetting that they were inspired by something or they're looking to something as a source of inspiration and reference. And there's so much inspiration around us if we just choose to see it and not make not make it all about just the practice, 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 but like combining that with every part of your life, and then that just makes it beautiful. Like you never know what inspires you to draw the next thing. Like you highlighted how sometimes you got a blank canvas. It's like, okay, then what do I draw now, right? And
Hmm.
yet so much of life happens around you that there's plenty of inspiration when we tend to look at it and just acknowledge it and stuff. So yeah.
Rosie wants to know if you have any pets.
Do I have any pets?
Yeah, do you have any pets?
No. I'm gonna say not yet. But at the moment, I do not.
What would be your pet of choice?
It would be a dog. I am in between dogs and cats. Dogs because I grew up with dogs. My dad bought dogs and I just been associated with dogs. But then my father-in-law has a cat, and sometimes when he goes, like when he travels, we then have to take care of the cat. And so that gave me the experience of like, oh, what life would be like with a cat, which is way less demanding. So that's that makes it, a positive, or makes me wanna, you know,
Hmm.
give that a try. But it could be a dog. My daughter, my firstborn, she likes dogs. She likes animals.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I might choose a cat just to have a new experience, but I might go back to dog if the family wants that. So yeah, it's 50-50 for now.
We have a dog, but recently my daughter was asking why we don't have a cat. Like, uh-oh, here we go. It's starting.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
But yeah, it's good to have a new experience. I've always been a dog person myself. I've lived with cats from time to time, with
Mm,
roommates with cats and stuff. And
yeah.
so far, eh. But I hope I
Yeah.
love all animals in theory, right?
Yeah. But there are preferences. It's okay to have preferences,
Hmm.
right?
Music Mixer says, I always say that art is perspective. What is your perspective of your art?
What is perspective? What is my perspective of my art? That is a question I'm gonna sit on for a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I
Let
don't
me
have a
think
ready answer
about
for
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's a good one. I mean, it's thought-provoking, right?
I think it changes all the
Art
time.
is, yeah, right?
I've
I mean,
thought about my art differently
mhm.
in different parts of my life and different parts of my career. But I wonder if your perspective on your art has changed over the past year from going, coming back to it after almost 10 years off, and now having had a successful year of
Yeah,
like maybe
yeah.
you're thinking on it is different now.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I aligned this with purpose, right? Like I never thought in the years, especially in my youth when I was drawing, that, you know, my art could be something that I can teach to somebody, right? And so art now has become an avenue in which I can provide value into somebody's life that is either looking to pursue the same thing, right? Or come back to it, whatever the case may be. So art has definitely been more purposeful in that sense that, since coming back to art and everything, I've seen improvement. I found an easy way to do it. And because I found an easy way to do it, it's like, when you find something so good that you can't keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like you have to share it with somebody. It's like a good movie, it's like a good game, it's like a good music album. Like you just want to share that with people. And so my heart is especially for those who, abandoned or lapsed or for whatever reason, and just helping them fall in love with drawing again. And so that's why I created like programs that help people just get back on their feet, and other programs that help them walk through this thing as easy as possible according to the way they live their life,
Hmm.
so that they don't like they avoid burnout, and just more simplicity and less information, right? And still achieving the things that they want to achieve. So that's what art is to me at this point in my life. Perhaps in the future, as I get really, really older, I won't really be with the capacity to teach people, right? But right now, it's that's definitely what it is for me, because I believe, you and me, John, we are interacting with people who will shape the world of tomorrow. And those are the people that I'm really looking to help discover that in themselves and impact the world, however small or big, that they end up doing.
Well, art's a powerful thing, like we were saying earlier. It infuses everything in our lives, and having more
Yeah,
people, making art or being even kind of artistically literate or artistically aware, like the more people we get on board,
yeah,
the better world we have.
100%.
All right. Well,
Have have you
how are you
have
doing
you
on this
thought
hand?
about man, this hand is the veins for me, but I that's my fault.
I gave up
Um, at
on the
least
veins.
I'm like I'm trying. I could just, do a little bit of adding some light there. It might help a
Hmm.
bit.
Yeah, I guess I haven't figured out how to do
Yeah.
veins in ink. Yeah, I always, whenever I draw hands, I
Mm,
just leave the veins out. I shouldn't do that. Gotta
yeah,
gotta do what's
you gotta
difficult. These hands are
exactly.
tough.
True. Always they are.
Second,
They're nice to look at, but drawing?
yeah, they look really cool. There's so much
Yeah.
structure. I don't know if you've looked
Mhm.
at Bridgman very much, like constructive anatomy and stuff like
Nah.
that. But for me, the place that he makes the most sense is in hands. Like when I look at hands, especially like this guy's hands, I can see what Bridgman was
Yeah.
going for. I can see him, it's like a machine almost. You can kind of see how everything fits together. I feel like
Yeah.
with hands, his stuff is the most relevant in my kind of thinking.
I see. No, I mean, I was kind of talked out of Bridgman from all the people that I was like looking to know, okay, the best recommended books and stuff like that. Like,
Hmm.
apparently, he's not very beginner friendly,
No,
but hearing you speak about him, I might give him a look soon enough.
I got I think it's Constructive Anatomy, one of his books, early on. I was in my
Yeah.
20s and I tried to go through it
Yeah.
and it was totally over my head. I couldn't figure it out at all. And then maybe
Hmm.
7 or 8 years later, I thought, well, I'm a more experienced artist. I'm more mature. I'll give it another shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, completely over my head. I couldn't figure it out. And a few years ago, I found on YouTube there's a series by Marshall Vandruff, uh, who's I guess he's
Mm.
one of the Proco guys, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's Bridgman Boot Camp. It's like a 12 video series, and I watched the whole thing, and I like his
Okay.
delivery, and after that, I understood it. I finally figured him out. I think I think
Wow.
it's partly it's maybe a maturity and partly having it spoon fed in the right way, which Marshall does.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And it goes back to, something that we were talking about with like finding, the teacher, that just helps to make it easy for you. I mean, yeah, I'd say the same thing about life. Like you follow the person who is already walking
Hmm.
where you want to go, like in the direction you want to go. And you'll learn a lot faster and avoid certain mistakes that could easily like threaten to stop you from drawing entirely and just having you go further than before.
Yeah, all of the big problems have been solved through the years. You know, we
Hmm.
have hundreds, if not thousands, of years, or maybe tens of thousands of years, really, if you want to go back that far of art
Hmm.
history to inform us. And so the problems are not new, and there's solutions. The
Yeah,
thing that's new is how you approach the solution, like
yeah,
synthesizing other
yeah,
people's
yeah.
work, not copying it exactly and trying to be exactly that person, which nobody would be able to
Hmm.
do anyway, really. But
Hmm.
taking what you can glean from them and
Yeah,
synthesizing it into your own style. And you do talk a bit about that as well in the book, I think, about your own style. You say it's not
yeah,
chosen,
yeah, yeah.
it's discovered, right? The natural result of you making art
Yes.
consistently over time, which I hope people will take that away. At least in my opinion, the most important thing that we've talked
Hmm.
about today is making art consistently over time. Everything follows from that. I hope people
Yeah,
will take that lesson to heart.
yeah, 100%, man. Like, I don't know why it is that we tend to overthink, the processes, and I also used to, so I'm not like throwing shade at anybody. I really feel it's the way we've just been taught to think and process life. But like, sometimes it really is as easy as you think it is. And I'm sure John, you can attest to like how you may have heard of like a certain principle through a free video on YouTube or
Hmm.
something. You decided, "Nah, maybe, not really." And you go and hear the same thing from a Steve Houston or a Patrick Jones, and it's like, oh yeah, it really is that. Like, really? And some things really are that simple, and it's just taking the step, and if it works, then stick to it. And that's the most important thing. Like, is it giving me results more than if, it's too simple or too good to be true or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Yeah, just to anybody who's listening, a struggling artist, and by that I don't mean financially speaking, but struggling to see improvement in your skills, and you just decide to make art that you're proud of, please know that I'm always there to help. You can reach out to me on my socials, on my email. And even if you don't, what I do want you to take away from this whole conversation is it's not too late to come back. It's not too late to start, regardless of how old you are. And there are far more possibilities today than ever before to make your dreams come true. Like, you are the most important investment that you will ever make in your life. I think that's the most important thing that I could say to anyone listening to this now. And that's it.
Well put. But Ndzaba, thank you so much for joining. I had a great time talking to you, and from what I can read in chat, everybody has really enjoyed our conversation. So once again, Joe, go check out his book, his Instagram, and he streams on YouTube as well. So find him on YouTube and can chat with him there.
Yeah, every Fridays I have the live streams for Q&As and then just drawing along.
Hmm.
And then Mondays I'm getting back into just like teaching certain principles. It's more of the mindset shifts and less of the drawings.
So Mondays and Fridays, and that is Brazil time. So that's close to U.S. time, right? Western
Yeah, it's
Hemisphere.
close to US time. Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you so much once again.